Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is everybody? Welcome to another episode of Roll Around, Find Out. I've got a relatively unscripted topic for tonight. Just randomly doing my thing, wasting my time looking up TTRPG stuff on DriveThruRPG, and kind of hit me. I remembered a long time ago I found a PDF somewhere. Never really did anything with it, but I've got I think it was a D&D 3rd edition Diablo setting book. Back in college, I played Diablo 2 for an ungodly amount of hours. I was literally obsessed with it. And played with some friends, but as cool as that was, just the game itself, the whole aesthetic of Diablo 2, love the theme, the never-ending chase for the best gear possible. And thinking about gear really got me thinking two things. One, I wish more RPGs, 5th edition in particular, had more focus on more pieces of gear. What I mean is like helmet, belt, gloves, boots, not just breastplate and a shield. And I know that adds to a lot more crunch in a system, but I think the starting armor class in 5th edition is 10 plus your constitution modifier. And that's just an arbitrary number to start at, 10. And thinking about Diablo 2, I really enjoyed... I used to play a Hammerdin. And I can't remember all the gear, it's been so long, but I know it was like this green... hood and special flail and boots that boosted some stat, armor, it's all boosted some stat. But there were sets, armor sets, item sets, and when you would wear all of them, you'd get an additional bonus. And I think, if I remember correctly, at like the highest of high levels, when you were at I think the highest level I ever got a Hammerdin was maybe 95, 96, maybe 97. To get to level 99, there were just hackers that were doing that. You'd have to be, super sweaty to get to that level, in my opinion. And so, talking about Diablo, kind of burying the lead here already, I want to talk about video game influences that I have and how they can possibly help your game. And if you've got any video game RPGs that you've been playing, how can you tap into those as resources to make your game better? That's 2023 right now. Baldur's Gate 3 is apparently the hottest game out there. I know very, very little of it. I saw some Twitch streamer, Caleb Hart 42, playing it, and there's hundreds, I'm sure. That was just one that I tuned into, and it seems like it's basically Dungeons and Dragons turned into a video game. The turn base of it, I am not a video game expert. I used to play a lot when I was a kid, up until high school, and then kind of discovered girls, and my video gaming went way down. So I had a PS2 and then a Wii, and that's about the extent of gaming that I had. So building on my nostalgia, we're going to talk about some video games here, and again, how they can improve your game. So here are just a handful that I was really into as a kid, and really sort of shaped my love for medieval history, fantasy, really set the groundwork. So one of the first role-playing games on the original Nintendo system, Dragon Warrior 1. Talk about that. I wasn't a huge Zelda fan until Ocarina of Time. That game is absolutely amazing. Easily my favorite role-playing game of all time, Final Fantasy VII. I had played Final Fantasy 1, and I think the American 5? I forget how that all works. And when I saw 7 coming out, I had a PlayStation. Cloud just looked awesome. Sephiroth, who I only pronounce it because I know it's correct, but for years and years and years and years, it was Sephiroth to me, and that just sounded way cooler. And if I say that later in the podcast, don't hate me. That's my childhood. That's just how I pronounced it. And then Diablo. We'll get in and talk more about Diablo. All right. So let's start with Dragon Warrior 1. If you've never played it, download it on your phone. It's like $2 probably. ROM it, whatever. It won't take you that long to play. Great foundation of a game. And so the main premise of it is the main hero, you. I don't even think you're named. I think maybe you can type in your name. It's been so long. But you are the descendant of a long-lost hero called Erdrick. And you just jump right into the action. Princess, I think Gwendolyn or Gwaelin is maybe right, is missing. And it's your job to go get her. The evil Dragon Lord has abducted her and causing chaos throughout the land. Now, the best part is you don't even have to save the princess. You can leave her in the cave being guarded by that green dragon and you can still win the game. That's the best part. But for you and your D&D table, this is something that you could pop out at any time in your campaign. You can maybe drop subtle hints. Maybe they talk with an old scholar, wizard, somebody from a library. Maybe there's a festival where they know of some long lost hero or long passed away hero that brought peace back to the land, slayed some foe, spread peace throughout the land. Maybe they were they don't even have to be a warrior. They could have just been a scholar spreading knowledge, spreading religion, anything. But they just need to have some sort of power. And preferably multiple powers, I guess. And then just at any point in the campaign, a player can do something. They can make a skill check. They can make an attack. They can be role-playing. And then give them a bonus. Give them a bonus on their roll. Let them re-roll. And then, don't tell them why. Just, you attacked with your sword. You hit. And it just seems like for the amount that you swung, it shouldn't have caused as much damage as it did. they might think, oh, well, the enemy was weak to slashing. Because D&D, even though there's piercing and slashing, as far as I know, makes zero difference mechanically in the game. So maybe your players think, oh, yeah, okay, their armor was weak to my piercing. And then keep dropping your subtle hints, and then at some point say, you know what? Maybe a mark appears on their body. However the reveal goes, reveal to them that they are descendants of a long-lost hero. And even if your party, is from opposite ends of the world, or wherever they come from, it doesn't mean that they can't somehow be related. If it's 1,000 years in the future since whatever hero saved the realm, how many generations is that? And so, when the world is in peril, this bloodline becomes activated and you can give them additional powers. You could play into whatever their class is. Let's say they're a barbarian or some, generic strong type, and you can boost their strength. Or if they are said strong type, then give them a small pool of spells to cast. Don't get crazy with it or get crazy with it. It's your game. But kind of a weird twist that I've not seen in any of my research where, hey, just give your players a random power. And this would be one way to do it. Second, piece of advice or takeaway from Dragon Warrior, and this will go for all of my examples here, but you know what? Just steal from it. Just beg, borrow, steal. So right in front of me, I've got, I had Dragon Warrior as a kid in the box. I'm almost positive I bought it at Funko Land, and had everything. Oh my god, I was probably like 8 or 9 and just jacked on Dragon Warrior. Loved it. So right in front of me, I've got a map. It's a picture of an old map that would have come in the box, and it's got, I think, 13. Is that what it is? 13 named areas, towns, caves. Go over. So you start in Tantagel Castle. Tantagel. See? However you want. Sephiroth. Go for it. Tangential is what it is. And right there, Tangential Castle. Couldn't think of a name? Bam. You got it. The town right next to it? Brecconary. I challenge you to come up with a better beginning town name than Brecconary. Phandelver? Great. Love it. Played both beginner campaigns for D&D. Mines of Phandelver and... oh, what's the other one? The one with the cold dragon. Both use Phandelver. Steal from that. Use all the NPCs. Use the shops from that. But if the players are familiar-ish with Phandelver, just call it Brecconary. Move some things around. Bam. Go for it. Other towns, Grinham, Cole, Cantlin, Hawksness, Remolder. Now, the caves that they have here are the most generic. They've got the Northern Cave, the Southern Cave, the Mountain Cave, and the Swamp Cave. So not a lot to steal from there. But these town names and where the Dragon Lord lives, Sharlock Castle. I mean, that is just for me, oozing with flavor. So steal town names. If your players are familiar with whatever you're stealing from, obviously not a great idea. But I imagine, the one person that might be listening to this at the moment, their players probably have not played Dragon Warrior. And so steal the town name, play the game, steal the layout, steal the NPCs. The entire continental map of Dragon Warrior is laid out perfect. Now, this is a world where you don't get a boat or an airship, so everything is traversed by land. You walk everywhere. But it's got mountains, it's got forests, it's got deserts, swamp, all laid out in a meaningful way. Your players, this example that I have in front of me is, a very pixelated version of it, but if you were to able to modernize it, your players would never know that this comes from a game probably made in 1985. So, steal. Okay, that is my thoughts on Dragon Warrior. Great town names, great maps. Final Fantasy VII. Loved that game growing up. Played this in middle school. Before I even had it, because I don't think I bought it like the day it came out, but shortly thereafter, somehow I had gotten, I don't know what the website was, GameFAQs or some website, and I had printed out the whole walkthrough. I wanted to know every town, every character, all the secrets before I even played it. That game, there's a reason why it's on so many top 10 lists. So, what can you steal from Final Fantasy VII? Same things. You can steal towns. You can steal maps. You can do that for any of these. So, I don't have it pulled up right here, but give me a second here. You can steal the materia system. If you've never played Final Fantasy VII, how the spells work, anybody can cast a spell. I'm sure there are player stats, certain players that it's been a while since I've played Final Fantasy VII, so bear with me. Aerith and maybe Cloud. I think they have certain stats that deal more damage or more effective when you use spells, but that's immaterial to your tabletop game. But there are different flavors of materia, and all of everyone's gear, their swords, their bracelets, I think armor, they all have these slots. And it's the slots that determine how much materia or how many spells they can carry. When Cloud first starts out, he's got the Buster Sword, and that has 2 materia slots. I think one sword he has 10 slots, but one I remember using was 3. And the purpose of these numbered of slots is usually if it was a powerful weapon, but it had less slots, the materia would get more, essentially, experience. You could level up your magic to become more powerful, like Cure 1, Cure 2. I'm going to get these wrong, but it was like material or comet, where you could cast a comet off of it, and then it would evolve into like Ultima, which would deal a lot more damage, and sometimes spells would go from damaging just one enemy to multiple enemies. And these slots, sometimes there were individual slots, or sometimes there were two linked slots. And so one of them would be like, I have a slot for fire. So if you have it on your sword, you cast fire, it would deal fire to one enemy. But if it's linked with another materia called all, then it would deal fire damage to all of the enemies on the screen. So you had lots of different combos and flexibility with that. Looking at my list here, there's magic materia, support materia, command materia, independent, and summon. So I'll go over just some of these here. Magic materia is green colored materia. I think this list I'm looking at here are in alphabetical order. So there's barrier. What does barrier do? It casts a shield in front of a character that causes physical attacks to do less damage. Right? So that's the level 1 spell for barrier. You've got it slotted in. You cast it, and it, up to you how many turns it goes for. Maybe it's up to your player's levels. And since it's just level 1, it reduces all incoming damage by a d4. Awesome. Once it levels up, barrier levels up to M barrier, which is cast the shield in front of a character that causes spells to do less damage. Okay, same concept. Then there's reflect. Casts a shield in front of a character that causes spells to reflect back towards the enemy. A quick warning though, this also casts beneficial magic, which I remember. If a cold boss casts a cold spell on you, it would bounce back onto the creature that cast it, and if a cold creature likes the cold, which they would, then it would do something like heal them. I think, in Final Fantasy VII, that's all it would do, is just heal them. So it'll be heads up of that. Then it boosts into wall. Wall, it says effects of barrier and M barrier in a single spell. So he powers it up, it evolves. Now you can do 2 spells for 1, basically. Let me just pick a random one. Okay, there's heal, which is not like hit points. There's you can remove poison. You can remove all status effects. So, just the verbiage here. Poisona. I don't think you would pronounce it poison. Removes poison. There's Isuna. Removes all status effects. In Final Fantasy VII, there's like dizzy, sleep, things like that. Then there's resist, which improves a character's resistance to status effects so that they don't even get it in the first place. Then there's ice, lightning, etc. All right, support materia. These are the spells like all. There's a spell called added effect or added cut. This materia allows a character to do a standard attack whenever the paired materia is used. The attack will hit the same target that you use the spell on. There tends to be better materia, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to think. There's one where there's all. There's counter. HP absorb, magic counter, MP absorb. Sneak attack materia offers the chance that the paired materia will be used at the beginning of the battle. Oh. Each level of the materia increases the chance that it will be used up to 80%. Oh, awesome. Well, must be added effect. Let's see. Added effect allows you to either cause status effects. Added cut material standard. Well, sorry for not having this absolutely memorized, but I know that there's one of these you could have like fire, and it must be added cut materia here, where if you had fire linked with added cut, now you have essentially like a flame blade. And so if you are fighting an ice monster and you can cut them with your now flame sword, you know, you can give a bonus to damage. Added effect here, there's poison, time, transform, destruct, and it all gives different effects. So you could attach one of these to your weapon, and you can cause, in 5th edition, you could stun them, paralyze them, blind them, things like that. You can also add these to your armor, and so now your armor is ice, pro ice, we'll say. So if you get hit with ice attacks, you can gain some benefit, probably health from it. And one cool thing, and how it would deviate from 5th edition, but would work great in another system, is it's just an effect that's always on. Unlike having to waste a spell slot and it lasts for a certain amount of time. You know, if I've got ice armor, it's just always active. I don't have to do anything special for it. Let's see. Command materia. So these were usually like special actions. There's Death Blow, Double Cut, which you can attack 2 times. Enemy Skill. This is awesome. Let me read it. So enemy skill materia is used to learn various enemy skills around the game. A number of the skills, including White Wind, Big Guard, Matra Magic, and Aqua Lung, are extremely useful throughout the course of the game. So imagine having a materia anywhere slotted in your armor or your weapon, and a beholder attacks you. Hits you with it, your materia, bam, absorbs that, learns that. Now you have that ray attack. Right now I'm just thinking I need to just create my own role-playing game with materia as a system, because that's just so awesome. My materia morph sense. I remember using this one occasionally. I'm really just getting nostalgic over here. Sense materia gives a character access to the sense command. This will allow you to see enemies' HP, MP, level, and weaknesses. This can be useful information both with and without a strategy guide, as knowledge of an enemy's HP level can be important for using morph and for other strategic reasons. So it kind of gamifies it a little bit with the HP level if you were to use it at your tabletop game. But I think, you know, if you've got materia for it, players know going in, you know, you don't necessarily have to say, you know, he's got 35 hit points left. You certainly could. They've got the materia. Go for it. But you could say, you know, he's not really looking too hurt. Or, you know, maybe in an attack or two, he's going to go down. You could be as vague or as specific as you wanted. All right, independent materia. Think of this kind of as let's see. I'll read it. Independent materia. This is purple materia. Let's see. This is a full list of all the independent materia found in Final Fantasy VII. Independent materia takes effect immediately and does not need to be paired or used in order to benefit from its effects. So there's counterattack materia. It starts out where you can counterattack 20% chance of the time, 40%, 60%, 80%, and then 100%. This is where leveling it up is super cool. Cover materia, this is where one PC could go and block for another PC. Enemy lure, here we go. Experience plus, gain more experience for being in the battle. Gil plus, that's what they called money. Here you can swap your HP and MP. I remember definitely using this to boost my HP. So, you know, every role-playing game I'm aware of, your HP is linked to your level. You roll for it. And that's just kind of sort of how your HP increases. But what's to say you don't have a magic item that increases your health? Maybe that's very common in my relatively limited experience. I've not heard of that, but great thought to have. Long range materia for Final Fantasy VII, since it's more or less two-dimensional combat, you can be in the front or the back. And if you're in the back, you take less damage, but you also deal less damage. But with this long range, you can be in the back and deal the same amount of damage as if you were in the front. And so bringing that to your tabletop game, I know some don't allow you to use ranged weapons at melee distances. So if they have that attached, they could definitely do that then. You could increase the range of weapons, etc. There's luck materia. Same thing for HP plus. There's MP plus, preemptive materia, speed plus materia. So imagine you are a PC and you've got this speed plus materia that in theory makes you move faster. In Final Fantasy VII, I think you can change it, but I remember playing it where everybody has this bar that fills up. It takes maybe, 30 seconds to fill up, and then it's their turn for combat. Obviously, combat, traditionally has initiative, and then however many NPCs there are, that's all in order. And if you want to jumble it up every round, go for it. But, if they have this speed plus materia, what's to say, a player is 5th in the initiative, and their speed materia is, we'll say, mid-tier. Maybe their turn goes, and then the round is over, and based on their speed materia, roll a d6, and on a 1, they get an extra turn. If their speed materia is boosted up, 1 and a 2, they get an extra turn. The pool of spells on here just are amazing. And then probably this is what Final Fantasy has become known for. I don't know about recent years, but for a big stretch there was the summon materia. And so here you can summon in other creatures to fight for you. It's basically Pokemon, but they're very, very powerful. You could do this lots of different ways. You could steal exactly from here what they have. Maybe one of the most famous ones is Bahamut. You just summon this dragon that just lays waste to them. And if I haven't said this already, shame on me. What's great about this, I just did a review on Knave, and while some characters in Final Fantasy VII might be more apt to spellcasting, I don't think there's any restrictions. I'm 99.9999% sure that any character can cast any spell. So like Knave, with your inventory being your class, these materia are more or less spell books. And anybody can cast any spell, and that's awesome. Now, how would you deal with, I had just mentioned it, but MP, magic points? Are there spell slots? Do you cast spells up to your level? In Knave, one thing that I tweaked in my hack of it, I really don't like that it's just one spell per spell book, and you can only cast that once per day. Now, great for Knave, it's OSR, low fantasy, harder, so no slam on that, but I think that's underpowered. And so, come up with whatever system you want. I personally believe, it would take work if you're making your own system based on this, but you would level, each spell would be leveled, and, it's tricky. I'm not going to come up with the perfect answer right now, but, let's say you've got Lightning Bolt. Okay, so you get Lightning Bolt, and it's at level 1. Okay, well, then it takes 1 magic point to cast. Well, how many magic points do players get? I don't know, equal to their intelligence. Their level plus their intelligence plus their intelligence modifier. Get another materia to boost it. And then you can cast any combination of spells. Let's say you've got in total 5 slots. You've got earth, air, wind, fire, ice. You're not limited to, ice is only a level 1, or, is level 3, so I can only cast that one once today. My earth is, a little less powerful. I can cast... It could be a much cleaner system. They're all given certain points, and you have a pool of points that you can draw from. Now we're getting into game theory, but, maybe you want potions that they can just instantly heal right back up. That's how Final Fantasy VII works, probably how most every Final Fantasy works. Or, it's after a short rest, or after a long rest. However you want to do it. But totally doable. I think that's all I've got for Final Fantasy VII. Materia system, because I grew up with it, it's got a special place in my heart. Such a great spell list, such great utility, like Knave. Anybody can use it. And the way that they level up, I think that's great. In the Knave spell list that they give, those spells increase by your level, and they have certain benefits to that. But with Final Fantasy VII and how they become different spells entirely, they power up when the character powers up. That's great. And one thing I didn't mention, at some point when these materia reach their maximum, I forget the verbiage they use, but they essentially give birth, and they form another materia, but it starts over at level 1. So, let's say you've got HP plus or HP bonus, and it boosts your health by 10%, 20%, 50%, and at some point, some threshold, then you're capped at that 50%. But then you get another one at 10%. And that PC can keep it or give it to somebody else. Great system. I think that would be unique to a tabletop RPG. I don't think that exists anywhere. All right. I kind of led with this and pretty much went over the main points already. But Diablo 2. I have played maybe 10 minutes of Diablo 1. Never played Diablo 3. I've got the mobile game on my phone, but, it's a mobile game. I'm not really about it. Diablo 4 is out right now, and I guess it's doing great if it's your thing. But I can just speak to Diablo 2. And having already said it we'll give a shorter discussion here, but the gear system. So, like Knave, they have inventory slots. There's classes, Paladin, Druid, Sorcerer, but for inventory management, you get, I don't know how many is, let's say 20 slots. And I remember one reason why people bought the expansion pack is you got more slots. You could carry more stuff. But with, magic items like Bag of Holding, inventory management doesn't always have to be a thing. But the main takeaway were magic items. It could be like a wand, a helm, and a breastplate. It could be boots, a belt, and a ring. Doesn't matter the combination. But there were certain sets that when you had all the pieces, gave you an added bonus. Could be an aura effect that helped you and your party members around you, boost damage, decrease incoming damage. Doesn't matter the effect. But in a particular game, I would think that would be really cool. Players visit a new town, new area. They have, local heroes. They have lineage, heritage, history, I guess is just the word I'm looking for, of their culture, things that they've gone through. And just one way to really add detail to your game is have one or two, mythic people. What is Simpsons Springfield founder? Jebediah Springfield. Okay, every town in your RPG campaign needs to have Jebediah Springfield. Who founded it, right? And so their gear was stolen by goblins, orcs, witch, and it's the player's mission to restore those pieces, or, as a reward they can keep it, or even they just stumble upon it somewhere. Start your dungeon delve, and, in like the third room, they find a belt. If you believe in attunement, it takes them a little while to figure out what it is. And then they find another, matching piece. And hopefully it boosts some stat, their AC, whatever. Then they beat the boss of the dungeon. They get the final piece. And then they learn that, they get these special powers. I know 5th edition gets the rap of it's like basically superheroes. They become super powerful. And if that's not the game you're wanting to run, totally get it. But in Diablo 2, the way they balance it is that's just a hard game. They don't worry about encounter balance. You die and that's it. Now, I'm going to dabble into another game here called Heroes of Cerulia, which me and my kids are playing. And that's a Zelda-themed game. And that the whole premise of that is it's video game logic. If you die, you start at the beginning of the dungeon, and the monsters are respawned, but so do you. Diablo 2, it's a video game. When you die, you lose your loot. You're naked, basically, and you have to go retrieve it. But once you get it, you're right back where you were. You can't really do that in an RPG. That's not the whole purpose. I guess, again, like my Heroes of Cerulia, I'm going to go over here in a bit. But takeaway from Diablo, matching gears, give them names. So listing off, these are, I only remember like 2 or 3 of these. There's the Tal Rasha's Wrappings, which is a cloth, a wand. Let's see, let me click on this. Talrasha's wrappings. Oh, no pictures of him? That's a bummer. I remember it being this purple suit. Okay, but it's got partial set bonus where it gives replenish life, 65% chance of getting magic items, 25% faster hit recovery. Okay, that's partial set bonus. If you have 2 items, 3 items, 4 items, if you have all of them, then it gives all of those and more. Super, super cool. Implement that in your game. Gives more, I don't know if breath is the right word, but substance probably to your world, where it's got a history to it. These are items that, you know, have been in battles, and now you get to wield the ancient weapon that defeated Medusa, you know, things like that. All right, on my very minimal note sheet here, I have Zelda -nothing. Growing up, wasn't a huge Zelda fan. I didn't not like it, but the first one, I didn't know what to do. You know, some random burning bush, whatever. Zelda 2, way too hard. Like, Death Mountain just wrecked me. No way. Then Super Nintendo, Link to the Past. Casually watched friends play it. Whatever. But it was Ocarina of Time that really sold me on Zelda, and then I just became a huge, huge fan from there. And so I don't have talking points, but looking at Ocarina of Time, now Zelda's unique because it's one person, and they're just so iconic. Master Shield, Master Sword. You know, it's hard in a big party to share that awesomeness. But broader themes of it could be like, not necessarily the time of Ocarina of Time, but the Ocarina. Give players some unique system like music. That whole game is revolved around music. Well, time, I guess, but the essentially the spells that Link knows come from the Ocarina. The songs come from important people. They have a history to them, and like Materia, in your game, anybody could have a musical instrument, make it a magical item, and they could play a song and have some effect. Players would have to work together to maybe come up with a song. I don't know how to role play that, but you know, especially a bard. But if everybody in your party had an instrument, and if you could find some way, just spitballing here, you know, if they're musicians in real life, just imagine your players writing a song in real life. They have to open up some deadly dungeon, and you know, it's scribed on the outside that through the power of music, a group comes together, a melody sung, a melody played, unlocks your path. Yeah, that's awful. That's draft number 0.01. But if you could get your players to work together, use system like music, just another option, another tool that you could implement in your game. Looking at Ocarina of Time and pretty much every Zelda game after. They're basically D&D dungeons. Link goes in, explores, gets a magic item, beats a boss, and then gets a heart piece, which is his form of leveling up. So, very similar to Dragon Warrior, like I said, steal the towns, steal NPCs, steal from Ocarina of Time the Skulltulas. Something just random, not related to the main story of your game, but just something that's universal everywhere. I forget the main purpose of the Skulltulas. If I remember, they were like cursed kids. I could be way off. Cursed kids, and they all had to be rescued to be freed. Something like that. Steal that, that's a great side quest option. I'm always looking for ways to, improve my game. Part of this podcast is me just putting thoughts down, talking about it. It's like golf, being a DM, learning about the hobby. You can never master it. And so something that I need to work on, do more research on, is downtime, how to do downtime, what really is downtime. Does downtime take place during a session, outside of a session? I don't have all the answers, so I don't know. In my one big campaign that I ran, the story was this mind flayer named Vosk, who was kidnapping people, and every session, if the players weren't progressing the story, in theory, he's getting more powerful and he's abducting more people. And so there wasn't really an opportunity for players to relax. It was probably more railroady than it should have been. And while I like to think I told the players they could do whatever they want, at the end of the day, like I said, if they weren't trying to get closer to Vosk, they weren't the heroes they wanted to be. Or maybe I was making them think they needed to be. So, slight tangent, but like the Skulltulas, add more side quests into your campaign. Maybe not one-shots, but just, these little tidbits here and there really make your world come alive. My recent experience with Zelda is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I have Tears of the Kingdom, haven't finished Breath of the Wild. There are, at this moment in time, still 3 shrines left that I have to find, and I will not cheat to find them. So then I'll really get into Tears of the Kingdom. But what can you take away from Tears of the Kingdom? 1, the foraging system and travel. In the game that my kids and I are playing, using Heroes of Cerulean, I printed out like a 2-foot by 3-foot map of Hyrule, and I overlaid a hex grid on it. And travel is, if they're walking or on a horse, they roll a certain dice. And I've got a D100 list that I generated on AI. On that list, maybe they have encounters with monsters, maybe they're meeting NPCs along the road, but they're also foraging for plants, foraging for food, and hunting animals. For rangers, they get a bad rap in 5th edition, but I think that's just because travel gets overlooked. And so find a way to make travel more fun. Be inspired by Breath of the Wild, how it's just so vast and so open, and players are encouraged to stay off the roads. I shouldn't say that they're encouraged, but if you're going to stay on the road, it's going to take you way longer, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's any safer. There's still monsters roaming everywhere. So I like the foraging and the cooking system. That's definitely something you could take to your table. Yeah. I'm sure there's, many things that I've missed. This is just a handful of games that I was inspired by as a kid. Zelda Breath of the Wild right now, currently still being inspired by. That game is, I would say, almost perfect. I don't need to go and critique that, but what inspirations do you have? What books have you read? Movies, TV shows, video games? If you've watched Game of Thrones, why not steal the White Walkers? Some ominous threat, unknown threat. Steal King's Landing. Steal the King's Road. Steal. Great for creating factions. The Iron Isles, the North, the Tullys. Where are the Tullys from? The fishing. I forget. I think my favorite names, which of course I'm not going to get right, but I want to say was the Iron Isles, but then the Fingers. Shoot. Well, yeah, I don't even know the name of my favorite, but that was cool. Whatever you're into, you don't have to make a whole new system. Whatever you're into, just find a way, put it into your game, and, it will be a great, unique experience that whether maybe your players get where it comes from or they don't, but that level of detail, that inspiration, that time that you took, that you put in, I think will pay dividends and will be rewarding for you. All right, we're rolling on almost an hour here. So this is my first podcast that I'm going to end with that I mentioned. I uploaded to DriveThruRPG my hack of Ben Milton's Knave. It's available for pay what you want, optional $2. I currently have 50 people that downloaded it, and truly, you hear like YouTubers say, like, I never thought I'd get this many subscribers. Truly, genuinely, these 50 people that have downloaded it, that's amazing to me. One person has paid. That's more than I thought. And if one person takes it to their table and plays it, steals something from it, the roll under system, the skills, the tweak to the magic system I have, great. So go check that out. It's called Underknave Skill Hack. If I remember, I'll put a link to it in the Spotify description for this playlist. But really enjoying making these podcasts, really enjoying expanding the opportunities and getting what little knowledge I have out to anybody that can listen. If I can improve one table, I've done my job. So thank you very much. See you next time.